Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Make sure the audio's coming in. Oh, yeah. We're all good to go. Kelly Patterson is backstage, and I was telling, I was talking to the stream last night a little bit about her story, which is extremely powerful. It's the story that the mainstream news, all these powerful people, they don't want you to hear about it. And we have her live in the Hive, and she'll take some questions at the end from you guys. We were just talking about what are we gonna talk about? And I think it's going to be extremely powerful, extremely moving, and I think we're all going to learn a lot. And one of the things that I took away from it is that this happens way more than we expect, and it looks nothing like what you would expect. And so I'm going to go ahead and say what's up to everybody here really quick, and then I'll get Kelly up on stage so we have as much time as possible. What is going on, Elizabeth and Jeremy, Crowned, Phoenix is tuning in, Amanda B. We got Grammy T, UFO Dog, Chrissy, Discord Dawn, what's going on? Thank you, Jason, for reposting this stream over on X. If you are tuned in on X, thank you so much. Welcome to the Hive. Susan, Ellen P, Honey Luke, Tanny Ann. What's going on, Essie? LA Mike, yeah, Lake of Fire. It's a great song. Absolute banger of a song. What up, Core? And Shoe Girl, Victoria, Steph, Jay Gamble, Sandra, Amanda. Love this. I love this. Squirrel Nest. Legan versus the World. What's going on, Beck? Stephanie, this is your first time here. Well, welcome to the Hive. It's a good intro for my disclaimer as well. If this is your first time tuning in, this is a contrarian thinking live stream where we are not afraid to think past the headlines. So if you're easily rattled or offended on behalf of others, this is not going to be the stream for you. But if you rather easily see through the mainstream media's headlines and their BS, you have found your people, and welcome. Now, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring Kelly on up. Hi, Kelly. How are you doing? Oh, you're on mute.
There we go.
Nice, nice. How's your day going?
It's going all right. It's going all right.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know that we were trying to do this for what, about a month and a half?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, your voice kept going in and out, but we got you here now. You're loud and clear, and like I said, I'm super grateful that you took some time tonight to come and tell your story and hang out here in the Hive. So, for those that don't know, Kelly Patterson is obviously, she was trafficked. I have the thumbnail right there, trafficked in America's heartland, and now she's naming names. And Kelly, for those people that maybe haven't heard your story, I don't know, do you want to share a little bit about yourself? You share a little bit about your background and your history and your story and how you got to where you are today?
Or my response to your title?
Yeah,
What
exactly.
the fudge?
You You go, we're going to be naming names, huh? I'm like, well, maybe.
Like,
As long as we don't get sued.
right? That's what we got to watch. I got your back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. If I start to say one, just kind of like put your hand up, be like, ah. But
Maybe ditto.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say, so for the people that maybe haven't heard your story, you have a book that's available on Amazon.
Mhm.
Maybe just tell a little bit, give people a little bit of a background as to what it is
Sure,
you're doing today
sure.
and how you got there.
Yeah. And do you want me to name the book as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can
Okay.
pull it up on
It's
Amazon too.
From Traffic to Treasured. And I did write that before I had done any podcasts. I wrote that several years ago. I wrote that when I was absolutely terrified. I was the first survivor coming out in our state. So that was scary by itself. At that time, media wouldn't even interview me because they absolutely did not believe that people were trafficked in this state. I'm in South Dakota. And so I was climbing a lot of mountains for the first time that nobody had broke through here. Nobody even knew the term trafficked. There was just a lot of trailblazing going on. The few people that knew it, were trying. But I mean, as in any kind of movement like this, a survivor is going to be needed at some point to validate what those who care are talking about, And so my book has a lot of my healing journey, along with a lot of the things that broke me very seriously. And I have a lot of people tell me that they get a lot of healing from that. So I just want to put that out there in their own stuff, even though it's not related at all. Because healing journey is whatever your trauma is. Most of us have some kind of trauma. The journeys have some similarities. It's just really complex when you add, and we're using the word trafficking tonight, correct?
Yep.
When you add that in, it makes any trauma complex, because you've got the violence, you've got the emotional abuse, you've got physical abuse, and then you add that element with all of it. It's all combined. You've really got a mess. They're trying to create a slave. And in my case, I was elite trafficked. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of the gals from Epstein Island. And we share some of the same clients, which are not being named yet. And I'm not going to spill those beans either at the moment, but there is one that they talk about a lot that I will talk about. But I want to start by saying this, because it will help people with the rest of what I share tonight. There are the United Nations, which isn't, it's not that it's my favorite organization, but it even remotely, but they do internationally recognize 48 common forms of torture that are used in trafficking, specifically the type of trafficking we're talking about. So we're not talking about organ trafficking, rug trafficking. We're not talking about, I'm trying to figure out which words I can still say or not.
No, you can talk pretty freely. I mean, I think we'll be okay. So.
Okay. So we know what we're talking about, the people abusing the body. And in that type of trafficking, if there's 48 common forms, and there are books written to traffickers on how to utilize these so that you can own the person, imagine the unique forms they come up with on their own as well. They're common. And that was probably one of the most healing things for me, was to find out that other survivors had suffered the same, because you keep it in silence. Those are things that some of them are so traumatizing, or they're so embarrassing that you don't want anybody to know you've ever been through that, so you don't talk about it. And I recommend to anyone who's been through any kind of trafficking to check that list out. It's called nonstatetorture.org. Great site for information. And one of the things I do that can irritate some people, so if it triggers you, I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to say deal with it because
As you should.
Imagine being in my shoes. I will take drinks of liquid quite a bit. I have a Coke and a water here because people are always, what's in her drink? I have Coke, just Coke Zero and water. And I need liquid a lot. And it's not due to medication. It's not due to age. It's not, I have always had to have a ton of liquid next to me. And it's due, honestly, it's due to part of their torture is withholding water and food from you. And there were times that they'd have me go a good 3 days and you're still expected to work, but you're not allowed to have liquid. You're not allowed to have chapstick. They during those times, they have individuals who are literally there to torture you through it. So I have an addiction and it's liquid.
Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I just want to real quick, I want to do a mic check because somebody was saying that I was a little bit quiet. Am I coming through okay on your end, Kelly?
You are to me.
Okay.
I hear you great. Can they hear me okay?
Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay.
My mic sometimes whenever I bring a guest up, my mic will like auto adjust. So I turned it off. So hopefully this sounds better to everybody. If you guys could just.
You have a complicated mic.
Oh yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know why it's interesting because Kelly, I've had terrible luck with my audio. Whenever I start streams back in TikTok, the joke was always like, is Birdie's volume going to be on? And I would spend 5 minutes just crashing out, trying to figure out.
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully this is better. I mean, everybody's still kind of saying that it's low. So hang on one second, Hive. I'm going to make one quick adjustment.
Go for it. I'll show them my pretty pink one while you're doing that. I have a cheap pink Amazon one. Well, it's not that cheap. I did get help picking it out, but it seems to work really well. Maybe you need a pink one, Birdie.
Okay. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Let me, I don't know if that's going to be any better. Let me just mess with the audio now. And.
Do you want me to talk while you're doing that?
Yeah, you could talk. Hang on.
Or I'll wait. I'll do whatever you want, sir.
Okay. Is this any better? I don't know what's going on. Of course this is happening tonight.
Birdina?
Yeah, jeez. Uh-oh.
I have a friend that uses a name very similar to that when she's being funny. I feel like
sorry, Kelly.
Maybe you could get it in purple. Blue.
Yeah, right. Okay, hang on. Here we go.
Huh. Gender reveal. I've always been a female. I just want to put that out there.
All right.
I've been down better? 6. This is something. Huh. Sorrow.
Oh, damn.
I hear you great.
I know. I don't know what's going on. I'm starting to sweat. It's not good.
You know, I'm going to share something while you sweat. People always say, I get asked this a lot. Like, if not outright, I get asked it in the. I'll go back whatever show I'm on. I'll go back and read if I remember. I'll go back and read comments and stuff, and I'll try to answer some people. If there's questions or things. One of the comments that people mention a lot is, how come whenever they see survivors anywhere talking that have been through what we've been through, we're always laughing, and did we really get harmed? Oh my gosh. It's like, the harm is almost impossible to describe. It is so severe. And in my case, it started at age 6. And I have a little bit younger memories. I just can't pull much of it up. But at 6, I was officially officially um, uh, invited to a building by a guy that had befriended my family since I was little. And he brought me to this building. I shouldn't say invited. He took me there and introduced me to the ring, the trafficking ring, which is just organized crime, basically. And it turned out to be an international ring. So when you have been through, and I didn't escape till I was 22. So when you have been through that many years of torture and torment and being owned, and when you get older, you're not allowed to own anything. I mean, nothing is yours. The clothing, your purse, I mean, it doesn't, your ID, it all belongs to them. So when you escape, the joy in the freedom is inexplainable. I don't know if that's a word, but
I think it makes sense to me.
or unexplainable, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let me just turn this up on my phone here, see if I can see it or hear it better. Okay. Well, hopefully this is going to work out all right. Sorry about that, Kelly. Now, what you were saying, saying that you had your first memory at age 6.
Well, I've got pieces of memory before that, but age 6, I have very clear memories from then on.
Wow.
But they were blocked. Most of them were blocked, or they were, I would call them partially blocked. They're like bookends. So you have the beginning of a situation and the end of a situation, but your brain has blocked everything in between, all the terrible stuff. And then these bookends don't make any sense, but somehow your brain just puts them together, and what's in between didn't happen. And your bookends don't make sense. Like one time I was grabbed off the streets at 13 by the ring, and I remember that. I always remembered that. Always remembered being pulled into the car. Always remember being chased, stalked, and everything up to that point. And then I remember being dropped off a few blocks away by my home. So to me, nothing happened in there. And yet
Wow.
I had all the scars. It's just, yeah. The brain it's a gift for children, though. It's a gift. And there is a lot of programming or brainwashing. Whenever I had to meet with them when I was young, they had a very specific building that they would have me come to. People don't understand the times. I'm a lot older than a lot of folks on here, probably.
Well,
definitely older than you, son.
Yeah. That's funny. I mean, I was going to say, though, you went back to or you had mentioned something about how there's a lot of brainwashing that goes into this. I think that could also tie into not only when it's young and you're being groomed and this is happening to you and you're like, oh, I just got dropped off a couple blocks from my house and my brain's kind of like that, where, kind of the young brain is kind of a blessing at that point. But then It seems to obviously it carries into adulthood. And with kind of this recent news headlines that came out with Ghislaine, who's asking for a pardon. And we were talking a little bit about this backstage, and you had said that the survivors, they're saying, we're putting our names out there saying, we don't care if you release our names as proof to kind of get the ball rolling and the momentum going. I mean, how long did that feel like to you to take to where it's like, wow, there's actually now over 100 people that are coming out and talking about this?
All of it's felt like forever to me. I've wanted to name names for so long, and I'm not taking your title, but it's so hard to hold them in. People don't realize that in itself is a I'm trying to think of the word I want, but it's kind of like you are part of it you're doing for survival, but 99% of it, I mean, maybe when I first started, it was for my own survival and fear of those people, but it becomes protection of my children, my grandchildren. That's huge. And and on top of that, though, so in one case, I'm looking at and have been meeting with lawyers a lawsuit of a very famous rock band. There were other rock bands involved that I could name, but it wouldn't really be fair. You and I talked about this, that those rock bands, two others I can think of right off that still tour, I don't believe they actually knew. First of all, we didn't have the term trafficked. And I don't believe that they actually knew that I was there by force. I think they think I was like either a groupie brought in, or back then everybody was a prostitute. And they assume you're there of your own volition. And you've already been programmed and trained to behave, to perform, to do well, to smile. I mean, I don't think anybody with an untrained eye would be able to recognize that I was there by force. So how can I blame those specific rock bands? And there's some actors the same way, but then there are those that know. And why do they know? Because they're deep in and they're involved. They're a part of it all. They're traffickers themselves. Whether by occult means is always a part of it. You've got your secret societies that are a part of it. You've got the thing is, when you're trafficked, you meet up with everything and everybody. It can be sports figures. It can be, musicians. If you're elite trafficked, you're kind of running in all those crowds, and some don't.
So you had said that when you would go to these parties, that there were probably people that had no idea that these people were there by force.
Right.
Can you explain, like, on the back end of that? So if there's a famous rock band, right, that thinks they're just having groupies brought in or girls to party with, they're not aware that these people are being trafficked. If they're not aware, and I'm talking, in the lens of they have no idea.
Right.
Who's setting that up? Is it the label? Is it the managers? Because there's clearly nefarious stuff to get it to that point.
Yes, absolutely. So I'd like to explain kind of my view of how this works in general. In pretty much any nation involved in this. So I'm gonna refer again to all of these different ones. We can take Diddy, we can take Maxwell, we can take the Island, we can take the stuff I was involved in was very famous people as well. One that many have heard me name publicly is Kissinger. Gerald Ford is another one I've named publicly. So if you just take those couple of names and you throw them in with some famous individuals and they're hanging out at certain places. One of them you have a video about. That happens to be a place that they bring politicians, artists, actors, musicians, whatever, together. On the video, it's I don't know if you want me to say it yet, or we can wait a bit, but they bring those kinds of people all together in the same setting. Now, there are many settings where that happens. And I'm going to say that in my experience, there were mostly politicians involved in the running of things. But above them, you had this organized crime that was even running them. It's so organized that it makes the movie The Godfather look simple. And this happens on an international level. So each nation, if you can think of like the top block, there is a USA crime boss, basically, literally. This was pointed out to me by people I trust in 3-letter organizations that we no longer trust. But these
Right.
individuals I do trust. One of them worked directly for our current president. Another was one of the best, most well-known CIA operatives. These are friends of mine. And they're good people that they have helped me so much. And they have confirmed what I saw, and I've confirmed what they believed. So it's kind of works together. But we would see this overlord, this person. It's literally an individual person that just so happened to live over the border from where I was when I was 17 and kicked out of my family home. And he just lived right over the border into Minnesota and happened to be that head guy. And
Wow.
and my dad worked for the government, and the government moved us. I believe they were deeply involved. I believe it was back then it was called, or maybe I don't know which came first, Monarch Programming, I forget, or MK Ultra. They're the same thing, CIA junk, right? And that's been admitted. That's been proven to be true. Conveniently, they lost the files and the names of almost everyone, but that was victimized. But we have evidence, we have proof that I was victimized by that as well. So we've got the government moving us. My dad thinks he's moving for pay raises, and he is. Every time, the way the government entity he worked with worked was you would climb a level, whatever they call those, like GS7, GS8.
Yeah.
Every time he agreed to a move, he got a pay raise and a level raise, and it didn't pay that well. We were just very lower middle income families, so it was very appealing to move. Well, the last place we moved, as I'm ready to age out, and that's what they're waiting for, happened to be right across the border from this
Wow.
USA crime boss. And then under that, each state has a boss over the state, and then they've got their underlings. And so there's rings under rings under rings. And then they come together internationally. So this guy from Minnesota would take me international.
Which is just it's hard for people that have never even, like myself, I've never been around that. I don't think that I've ever seen it happening, right? And what I have on screen here, Hive, Kelly had sent me these pictures as visuals, and I think it was a good time to put these up because she was talking about how her father was being promoted and getting these pay raises. Now, I don't know how much into detail you want to go, but starting at age 9 through 20, these are all instances of pictures while this was happening to you.
Mm-hmm. And age 9 is a good place to start. Age 6, I was introduced to this ring. And then I only recently learned, literally this week, that others use this same phrase. But from 6 till we moved at age 9, what was happening to me was called, or say age 8, I think we moved, it was called schooling. They called it schooling back then. And it's really just, it's beyond grooming. It's training you to be everything that the commercial sexual industry needs. So they are literally training you so young that by age 9, which is that first young picture, I didn't realize, a friend sent it to me after reading my book. And she said, this was at my birthday party. She turned 9 just like a month after me. And so she said, I want you to see what you looked like at age 9. I thought I was a young woman at age 9 is when they first began putting me into adult porn films and adult porn magazines. Age 9. And now I look at that little baby and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at how little I was. And no wonder I would like cover my mouth when I smiled sometimes back then. And, and I embarrassed easy, and I was a people pleaser, and I was afraid all the time. And yet I had this tough side. There was like 2 of me, eventually there was many more of me, but there was 2 of me that were very clear, that I always refer to in the book as Kelly of the day and Kelly of the night. And we were able to run free. It was a small community.
You're saying by
nobody
daytime?
cared where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was saying like when it's like you said Kelly by day, there's really, from the outside looking in, it's your quiet little town, doors unlocked, kids can ride their bikes down Main Street.
Yep.
And then,
You could be right now, um, Bertie, you could be looking at a victim today next door to you and you wouldn't know it. This is the terrifying part of it. Nobody knew
yeah,
except those involved. My parents had no clue. My siblings had no clue. My brother remembers certain things at where I was being groomed, schooled at age 6. I don't remember this, but my brother just read my book this year, and he said, "You warned me at age 6." He was 4. He's yeah, 4. And we were running the streets, just so people know, but just in our neighborhood because everybody knew everybody. And I told him, do not walk by that building, do not go near it. Horrible things happen to children. I guess I said bad things. Bad things happen to children in that basement. And so he told me, and I didn't know this, I don't remember telling him it. He told me that the whole time we lived in that community, he would cross the street there and never walk by it. And he told me in tears and he thanked me. He said, "You saved my life."
wow,
I had no idea. I don't remember it.
that's that's powerful. Like you were probably giving off some sort of energy that even at a young age that he was probably like, I need to listen to that.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
mean, I think that's absolutely real. You can tell when people are genuine, even like through the screen right now, I can feel it, kind of
I'm
coming
kind
off
of
you, kind of
feeling
when
it
you're,
myself because I've maybe only told that once or twice and it to family or whatever. I don't know that I've ever said it publicly.
wow.
I do. Uh, yeah.
Well, so you had said that back then people had no idea, right? So he's extremely grateful, you saved his life because he listened to you.
Yeah.
Now, today, I would like to think, and I'm curious if you agree with this or not. I think most people know and have heard the word human trafficking. People have heard that word, I think. But people don't know what it looks like today. People think
No.
it's free candy written on the side of a van that's creepy,
Yep.
some fat old bald guy that's going to throw you in there, right? Like
Yep.
that. But it doesn't look like
Yep.
that because you had just
No.
said somebody could be my neighbor and I would have no idea. So, from a modern day standpoint, are there any things that are maybe lesser known, lesser obvious, but when you see them, your kind of alarm bells start going off?
Oh yeah. I would like to tell people to check out our website. We have a list that's different than what you might find out there because I tried to make it practical for people in everyday life of signs to look for, and that is treasuredlives.org.
I'll pull it up right now.
Because, oh, thanks. Because what I found is that people were looking for streetwalkers. You know, they're looking for someone in her miniskirt to come in and out of a hotel. Um, People don't even know to look at exotic dance clubs. They think those girls are there of their own accord and don't realize that most of them are being forced to be there. Not all, but most. However, 100% of them that were polled, and nothing's ever 100%. This poll was, they polled over, I think it was 2,000 um, girls who worked in exotic dance clubs, strip bars, um,
Wow.
and they found 100% of them had been abused as children. See, guys need to know that when they're in there, they're either forced there or they're living out their trauma.
Yeah,
Some
we're
of
just
them are literally up there hating your guts. I was forced to do that. Anything you can fathom that they force you to do, they trained me to do. Because you see, they were looking at you're just a product that they're raising to be exactly what they want when you are the ages they need to use you.
so in a situation like that where they're raising you as you get older. They obviously they groom you while you're younger so that you don't identify it as this massive change. Oh my God, something's wrong. Although it sounds like everybody knows something's wrong. You just don't know how to stop that wrong, right? Like you don't know where to go, how to stop it. And so for the people that do escape, right? Is there something like a common denominator that they all do? Is it just the straw that breaks the camel's back and they just leave? They just take their chances? Or what do you think most people who do get out, like yourself, what do you think you did compared to maybe others that don't?
Kept hope alive somehow, because I genuinely, and most of them I found this is true, attempted escapes dozens of times. When you do that, you are not just beaten, you are tortured, you are gang essayed, you are the things that happen to you are so horrific when you attempt escape that eventually, and this did happen to me for a while, you hit a place where you go, I may as well not try this again. They're going to kill me. And I'm going to die in this. You resign yourself to that. And unfortunately, only 1% of us, this is still the government stats still say it's just barely over 1% of us ever escape alive. That's hard to wrap your head around.
It is, because you were also saying that how many thousands per week has it been increasing?
Oh, I don't even know those numbers anymore. It's so bad. I have to believe that, and you're frozen, sir. Oh, there you are. I think.
Oh man, nope. What a night with the technical difficulties. Of course, we've been trying for so long to get this to happen. Now my Wi-Fi's going out.
Better you than me.
Yeah, well, I'm a mess right
because
now.
I'm like already nervous. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna pee my pants.
No. You're doing great. If anything,
not literally, but I was like, I don't know. I hadn't been on podcasts in a while, and I've been so sick, and I'm just real. I'm really real. I just say what I think, and like I'm looking in there, and I got a new haircut I don't like. Well, it'll be okay, but I also I have been so sick. June 27th, I went down. I didn't see any summer. I didn't leave my house until 2 weeks ago. And before that, I only left to go to the doctors. That was it. I was so sick. So I put on pounds, and I'm seeing it on the camera, So it's like I'm trying to look at you and not there. And then,
Yeah.
Because I'm a girl. Great. But it's not just that. What I want people to know on the unfunny side of it. Sorry, I didn't mean to just ramrod. I'll try to slow down. On the other side of that is from young, you're told you are your body. I weighed 98 pounds all that time up until, actually up into my 30s. But everybody thought I had an eating disorder. I didn't have an eating disorder. I had a forced diet. When, as a teen, as soon as they got me when I was kicked out of the family home at 17, this was literally my daily diet, was a can of tomato soup. I could have a couple of crackers with that sometimes, depending on my weight. I had to keep it at 98. If I gained 3 pounds, I kid you not, they beat me. Coke and Snickers per day. That was it. So when the holidays came.
Sorry, I was gonna say, are they actually like weighing you?
Oh yeah, they're hideous.
Wow.
They're hideous. They would literally act like they could tell. Like you could see 3 pounds. Now I am short, but even on me at 5'2", you don't see 3 pounds. But they would act like they could, so I could. That's all I could see. That's all I can see today. I've tried so hard to overcome that, but that is probably one of my hardest battles is like, dude, I'm aging, and it's like, and you can't stop that clock. And I want to be that person that goes gracefully into that. But man, you are so programmed that you are your body and your face that it's really hard to come out of. And whenever you want to bring up that picture of me at different ages, I'll try to, you help me stay on track a little
Yeah,
with
no, that's
telling the
fine.
story by age also.
Well, and I was just going to say, that's a very, like today, even without going through the trauma that you've had,
Yep.
it's a thing from social media, from the pressure of just what is your public image supposed to look like? I mean,
Oh,
you were going through that times a million
yep.
before kind of social media was even doing that to people. So I can't
Yep.
imagine.
Yep.
And I do have a question about one of these pictures because you had put in the caption in your email, the night I fled South Dakota. I believe it was like your cousin's wedding. Is there a
That's
story
when
behind that?
that's when I escaped. Um,
That was the night.
that's the night. We should hit that one after we maybe if you don't want to miss the in between, let's hit that in a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Is
fine.
that cool? Okay.
Yeah,
I should
absolutely.
have explained that better.
No, no worries. That's fine with me. So, Hive, I'm sure most people in here have heard of the Bilderberg group that meets. Kind of infamously, Alex Jones had broke that story where he snuck into Bohemian Grove and he filmed the owl. Correct? That's the same. That's the same. You've been on that property.
Two different. So these are two different things. Bilderberg and Bohemian Grove
Okay.
are separate, right?
So Alex Jones
And
did both.
no,
He just did Bohemian Grove.
he did Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
Yep. Bilderberg, you hear about it every year, right? And Kissinger was like the guy. But that's the guy that I had to accompany there. I met Kissinger as a child. That's disgusting to me. I think it's why I hate German accents. And I shouldn't. My beautiful grandparents that I love were German accents. Well, kind of a German Ukrainian accent, but that guy's disgusting to me. Like, I'm so glad he's dead. I'm so glad he's dead. I got, this just gives you a hint of how bizarre these people are. Once my book came out, which was in 2018, it was the year before, I started getting texts, private texts to my phone that would come and be like, they'd call me by one of my stage names. I had multiple stage names. Nobody could know that but the ring, right? They'd send me a bouquet of flowers by text, a picture, and thank me for last night and garbage like that. Now I'm married. I'm not being trafficked anymore, but it was this messing with my head thing. And every year I would get this with the same messages, but calling me by different names, and would break through my blocks. I'd block their number. They'd break through the blocking and using the same number. Only upper echelons can do that, but I wasn't sure. I knew it was the ring, but I wasn't sure who. And I'm not saying this is true. All I can tell you is Kissinger died 2 years ago. I quit getting the texts.
Holy cow. So it's just crazy because you think of Henry Kissinger and how prominent of a figure he was in the United States government with Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, his foreign policy, how active he was. And so you want to talk about being amongst the elite, the true elite, right? Not that celebrities and all that's not terrible, but I feel like when you not only have the celebrities, but now you have the people that are above them. You have the people that are running the governments on a world level, going to these events, and you are there with them is just, it's hard to wrap at least my head around the fact that, in the photo here on the screen. So April 21st, April 23rd, 1978, Bilderberg, it was held in Princeton, New Jersey. This is a photo of the room where you had said there was private parties of the elite at their homes and an underground area. You had attended with Kissinger, and then I have a video to show here in a second. But, I mean, just looking at this picture, Kelly, it looks creepy. It just looks creepy.
I can't tell you how terrifying that was. Imagine being very young and I was still a teenager, and hearing world level domination stuff. Like I felt like the closest thing that I have ever experienced as an adult that reminded me of that room, especially the underground room, was in the oh gosh, what were those movies with Henry? Oh shoot, maybe Henry isn't right. Um, Temple of Doom, all those.
Let me look it up.
Somebody tell me, man. I'm like,
Like the
we know
Indiana
what.
Jones?
Yeah, Indiana Jones.
Oh, okay.
You remember the one where they had the Nazis in that room on a big screen, and it's a round room, and they're
I
talking about all
do.
this hideous, dark stuff? I almost went into a panic attack at that scene in the movie, and I didn't make the connection initially. But memories, were starting to flood back, um, and then I kept saying, now, mind you, I hated history. That we didn't talk about these things anyway. I hated the news, so I didn't pay attention to any of that. Also, I wasn't really allowed. There wasn't any TV time once they have you, right? And so then here I am years later, and I'm going, man, I've been to New Jersey to something called Bilderberg, but I don't know what it is. And I know that I hate Kissinger, and I remember stuff already about him. So I decided to look up Kissinger and New Jersey and Bilderberg, that I don't even know how to spell, by the way. I spelt it wrong. And it comes up, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like you cannot make that stuff up. And I had to start believing myself. And
Right.
there's been a million things since then. There's so much evidence now that I don't have to convince myself anymore. But when you're first recovering memories, you don't believe you.
I mean, so you said you're like, I can't even spell it right. I'm just looking it up. I'm starting to do research.
Yeah.
When you were there, did you just think these were wealthy people, or did you know they were powerful?
Yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew because you're also being forced into trafficking situations with, it's not like I got to just, which is disgusting to say, but just be on Kissinger's arm. You're an escort, and an escort is just a fake name we tell ourselves to ease the fact that someone is being raped,
Wow.
because you can't call it prostitution when you're being forced to be there. You're prostituted. And we want to get our language right so that victims are recognized for the horrors they've really been through. You meet one rape victim and the trauma that they go through for decades. Fathom this happening multiple times a day. Some women talking about 20 times a day. Now
Jesus.
in the elite, they're trying not to do that to you, but it's still multiple times a day.
Yeah. Like, just calling it what it is.
Yep.
It's rape.
It's rape.
It's raped. They're forced to be there.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think the way that you phrased it with the escort definition is profound. It's powerful. Like, let's be honest. You're not an escort. You're being raped,
Yep.
especially when you're there, being forced to be there.
Yeah.
And
Whoop-de-doo. You get to wear a fur coat and a diamond necklace at that event, but it belongs to them, not you. And is that worth being raped? No, it's not. And then you get to turn around and have to be in places where you're treated like an animal, where in fact that's what Bohemian Grove was. It was the same elite people, or some of the same, being in an animalistic, treacherous setting where they're disgusting. These are heads of nations and heads of our country, and they're defecating in front of each other in the fields. Or it's not fields, it's a grassy, let's call it a grassy knoll. It's I mean,
yeah.
they're just putrid. They're behaving like animals. They're running around often with nothing on or just in their underwear. I mean, I've seen so many famous people in nothing that I can't even tell. I wouldn't even be able to describe somebody's body to you because you've seen so much of it. They're so gross in their behavior that it's impossible for us to imagine that these supposed people in suits and wealthy turn around and do this.
I don't know if this is an out of line comment, but hearing you say that, like, it pisses me off for you, because I'm like, you shouldn't have to tiptoe around this damn thing. You shouldn't have to just sit there, and now I'm the one that has to be very professionally spoken about the fact that, no, these world leaders, they're naked and they're defecating in front of each other, and these are famous people, they're running our governments, and you, after having to escape the hell of that, has to now be worried that you can't say certain words on the platforms that these people run, because then they're going to shadow ban you just to protect their entire ring. It's wild to me.
It angers me. It enrages me. And thank you. Seriously, it means so much to us as survivors when someone like yourself acknowledges the injustice of it all. It's so. I'm glad I believe in a God that is just, that they will get theirs. I know where Kissinger's burning. I mean, I can, unless there was some unbelievable last minute change, and we know he was disgusting. He is the one person who was originally named as being the reason Epstein Island happened. Nobody remembers this, and you can't find it now, but I heard it, and several others did too. And Bondi named him way in the beginning of the Epstein thing, and now you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah,
except those girls that were there.
Right, and now you can get into the whole thing about Pam Bondi and how she's just backpedaling and all of this stuff that's going down with this Epstein list. Before, actually, you know what? I'm going to do kind of what you did earlier. Before we kind of go down that rabbit hole, I want to show this video that you had sent me of this guy who snuck in.
Yeah, where the animals are.
Yeah. So here we go.
This guy snuck inside the Bohemian Grove and exposed everything on camera. Just like Ryan Garcia recently outed them, and he's had some more to say since then. The Bohemian Grove is a 2,700 acre encampment in the middle of the Redwood Forest just outside of Monterey, California, where members of the Bohemian Club, an invitation-only, men's-only group of the ultra-rich and powerful, meet up every July to hang out, drink a lot, just have a good old boys weekend out like they used to. And also decide the fate of the world through sacrificial ritualistic ceremonies they partake in. Now, the Bohemian Grove itself is not a rumor. It's 100% real, or at least it was. An infamous investigator by the initials of AJ snuck a hidden camera into the grove back in July of 2000 and recorded their entire ritual on tape. And when members of the club were confronted by the public about their strange practices, they just kind of brushed it off, saying, oh yeah, it's just a fun little boys getaway we do, you know, messing around and just having fun, hee hee. What's a little concerning is that these grovers are not some artistic, free-loving hippies and nomads. They're Fortune 500 billionaires, CEOs, university directors, leading scientists, and people in positions of power. Even past politicians like Richard Nixon, the Bush family, Ronald Reagan, and Henry Kissinger are confirmed members. What are former presidents and even actors like Clint Eastwood doing taking part in red-hooded, fire-fueled mock sacrificial rituals in the middle of a forest? This is where it goes from kinda weird to just plain horrifying. So the main sort of attraction point at the Grove is the owl statue they perform their ceremony in front of. During the ritual, members light a gasoline-soaked human dummy on fire in a seemingly mock sacrifice, known as the cremation of care, all while wearing red robes and surrounded by fire. You let me know what this looks like. Rumors claim these sacrifices are not mock at all, and that a real person is actually inside the dummy. Mock or not, don't you think it's kind of weird that presidents who ran, or maybe even currently run the country, are doing shit like this? Then boxer Ryan Garcia blew the lid off the entire thing, claiming that they, the elite class, tied him down in this forest and forced him to watch kids get the worst thing you can possibly imagine. That this mock sacrifice is just a publicly known tip, and for once, The tip is all I need to know. Allegedly, there are other horrible acts that happen behind closed doors at the Grove, similar to an infamous island that got booked years ago. Garcia then went on a tear, dropping a bunch of now deleted tweets that exposed some pretty serious leaks. Talks about hidden Vatican files of Jesus, the Ark of the Covenant, giants, clones, and aliens. That earthquakes will destroy LA and Vegas, most notably that a big one will strike on June 6, 2024. We just had quakes in Taiwan and even New York City on April 3rd and 5th, so is another one coming? If it's past June 6th, I guess we know the answer. Otherwise, we wait to see what happens. Most of these have since been deleted, including an alleged tweet that predicted the bridge collapse in Baltimore on March 26th, exactly when it happened. People say this one's fake, but still others claim they remember Ryan posting it. What we do know for sure is the Bohemian Grove had its last known official meetup in July 2008, ending it after getting too much public attention. People speculate they just moved to a newer, more secretive location to keep their dark arts living strong. They really did it.
So, you know, Kelly, I'm looking at this part of it right here, towards the end. Where is it? Look at how many people. Oh, look at how many people are there. I mean, how many?
And the guy, I want. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say how many people are at this event.
Well, I never counted, so but
Lots,
yeah,
though?
a lot. I mean, there's nowhere to escape. I can tell you that. And I want to, where he's incorrect is he said that, it ended in 2008. Absolutely not true. The guy dancer one, you can go locate. Well, I think that his videos are still out there. He went there last summer. He recorded the exact same owl, everything. And he stayed there you saw the video yourself, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. So we know it's still going on. Why wouldn't it be? They are like, I'm going to say this. I think they're in a cult of some sort. They're into some sort of Satanism. I mean, red robes and fire. And I mean, come on, they're into something. Maybe it's, I will say this. I saw a lot of bizarre Egyptian stuff brought into many of these places. Even like the dog head men and things like that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I think they're into some strange combination of Egyptian mythology and Satanism, and they combine it all together into some weird cult. I feel like I understand some of it. I've met members of these. If you try to find these guys, you'll find nothing but, oh, this is a myth. But I've met members of the Illuminati. They exist. They're real. They are the 13 families, but you can't even try to find that on the internet anymore.
Well,
even AI fights you.
AI does fight you because, again, okay, here's what I think we need to also, because you're saying like the Illuminati, there might be people that think that that's a myth. I mean, how many people can write a song about it? How many people can, expose it and they still don't believe it? I think it's because every institution is compromised. Literally every big institution, every sect of society at the top is compromised. And it's a real issue. We know it's an issue. I mean, you have countless people that are never going to be able to recover and to heal or escape, yet alone have the strength that you have to come out and talk and try to spread the word on it. Does anybody think that it's like, how are people not putting it together? Like, there are massive news corporations that this would be the number one story in the history of the world, that this ring goes down. And they're like, you know what? We're going to look the other way. Let's go report on some guy in Florida who went into a pond and saved his puppy with his bare hands against an alligator. Yeah, let's talk about that stuff. Which, don't get me wrong, it's entertaining, but it's not important. Like this is important. And they shy away from it on purpose, whether it's because those executives are compromised. And I probably have only scratched the surface in really knowing how this all goes down. Like, I think I can maybe picture like how you'd get blackmail on somebody, for example, going back to the rock bands that we talked about. if you're in a rock band that's up and coming and you don't know that these girls are being trafficked or they're underage because they wear a wig or they put makeup on, and then somebody's recording you and you think you're just partying with you know, groupies, then you're cooked forever. They have you on camera. It doesn't seem that difficult to get blackmail on people in that manner.
I was used that way on a different level. There's a phrase people are using now I absolutely hate. I don't agree with the use of it. So I'm not going to say it, but if you do, it's fine. But you'll know what I mean. When they set, so I was taken, I spent quite a bit of time in South America, and I was literally in the mansion of a president of Mexico. And now get this. This is your brain again doesn't remember anything, right? Doesn't you're still blocking stuff. I'm still not believing myself. I'm writing my book and I'm thinking I can't put this in there. I don't have any proof, you know. And I've got a lot of evidence since then. You can literally find my story. Well, you could. I tried to find it recently. I can't find it, which what a surprise. But you can literally find one of my stories on the internet, and it's in the historic records in Mexico. There was a president that, and I didn't know his name. I just called him what they told me to call him, and I had two names for him, and this actually came to me in a flashback. If you know anything about flashbacks, they're terrifying, and they're terrifying for the thankfully I had my husband with me who had been trained in working with this stuff. Or, you know, if you don't find a guy that knows what to do with it, or at least is sensitive to it, it's going to be pretty difficult to be married to someone like myself, because we don't know when flashbacks are going to happen still. Now, I haven't had any in maybe a year, but it could happen tomorrow. See, I don't know. And sometimes, like coming on a show like this, sometimes something will just come up that I say and trigger myself, you know, and then it can happen. Well, they literally are like, if you've ever seen films of military having a flashback, and, you know, they pull out guns and they shoot everybody, and they're, you know, and they're completely living back there. That's what happens in a flashback from trafficking. So the first one I ever had, I am screaming and kicking and hitting my husband. I was in our bedroom, but I wasn't in our bedroom. Nothing looked like our bedroom. Nothing was our bedroom. He wasn't there. I wasn't that age. You know, I was a few years younger. It was all this crazy stuff. And I'm reliving it. Well, one of them was about this president. And I am just going, this cannot be real, because what I wake up with in this flashback, and I'm fighting again my husband, and I've got all this stuff going on in my brain. And after what he does is he grounds me. If you ever are around someone with a flashback, the best way to ground them is to tell them what year it is. Remind them they're not back there. And you don't even know where back there is. You just know.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he's going, it's me, honey. This is whatever year it was. It was 1990 something. 1996, actually. I remember now. And he's going, this is 1996. And it's me, and you're in our room. You're safe. You're okay. And I guess I'm still hitting him and stuff. I don't even know. Kicking, hitting. And then when I'm able to tell him what was going on, I tell him I had to call him El Guapo or El Presidente. And I said, and some part of me could speak Spanish. And then I remembered I had a teacher in first grade that taught me Spanish, but just a little. I only remembered a little, and she was only there 1 year. But some part of me learned enough Spanish to get by, because at some point one night I started speaking Spanish to my husband, and we decided to record and look up what I was saying. And it was all,
Wow.
yeah, that's crazy. That's how we can dissociate. Because see, here's what they would do. They would intentionally say, and I'm going to make up a name. This isn't one of my names. So I had a girl to live in that palace who had a Spanish name and would speak some Spanish. And we'll just say her name's Marcia because I don't know anybody by that name. And
Okay.
and they would say to you while they're traumatizing you, while they're schooling you, "We don't want you, Kelly. We want Marcia." And then they'd start to speak Spanish to Marcia. And me, Kelly, would be going, what are you talking, right? But then they begin to utilize drugs into that whole thing, and you become very pliable. Also, as you get a little older, that they know you're going to hide the scars and the wounds from your parents. When you're really little, like 6, they can't do this. But as you hit around age 9, you start hiding. You start hiding stuff, and then they can harm you, and 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 then they can continue to say until finally some part of your brain relents and says, "I'm Marcia."
Wow.
And okay, now don't talk to us in English. And so I was perfectly prepared to be in that mansion then when I was a young teenager and into my 20s. And um, and I was remembering that I was forced to be with these heads of other nations when they would come to visit, and they would in my room at the top of the stairs. I mean, I described the place to a T. And sure enough, when we looked up Mexico, well, actually, we looked up El Presidente and El Guapo is what we looked up. And sure enough, up comes Jose Lopez Portillo, who is the president, El Presidente, who they called El Guapo, which means the handsome one. And I didn't even know that. I didn't know what it meant. Some part of me did. I had no idea. And I was staying in his place, taking care of his guests while they recorded and blackmailed 3 nations into a financial deal with Mexico that the world could never understand why. Why? And one of them was France, for instance. Venezuela was another. And the third one escapes me right now. But they got into a fight. And here I could go and read online the whole thing and how nobody could understand why they agreed to give all this money to this Mexican president that was known for being, terrible with money and a terrible person. And he eventually, I can't remember what all happened. He got in a lot of trouble later in life, but
That's crazy.
I couldn't find it when I tried to look recently, by the way, but I found it and I was like, that's me. That they used me to do that deal. It's insane.
That is insane. I mean, so as you're saying this, it's so weird because you think of these government officials, they're the good guys, right? Everybody, they're supposed to be taking down the cartels. They're supposed to be stopping this.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be the ones doing it. They wouldn't be utilizing it, right? Like,
Right.
and so Kelly, as you're saying that, what was going through my head is like, the only way that this is going to stop is if everybody knows that this is still going on. Like, when they can't hide in the shadows, and I'm sure there's going to be people, and also there is a reality to it of their funds are unlimited.
Yep.
There's underground places that they can go. They can fly their private jets off their radar. They can get away with it. But it's rather just making people aware this is not just like a movie thing. It's not a thing in the past. It's still going on. And I mean, so one of the questions that I saw scroll by is, did your family, like, how do girls' families, like, do they know something's up? Do they not know something's up? Are you threatened, obviously, if you tell your family? How does that work?
Ooh, bring up that picture again. I can help explain that really well. The one with the one with the different ages.
Oh, this one?
Not that. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So do you see where I'm age 17?
Yep.
Age 17, we moved to Michigan. And from South Dakota again. We've moved in and out of South Dakota a few times, by the way. And we moved to Michigan for a summer for some training my dad was going through. And our home, imagine this beautiful, beautiful, we're on a beach. All right, we've got a beach home now. I mean, how great is that, right? And I love water. I love to swim and have always been just an avid swimmer. And so we look out our back, window when we pull in, and we're like, and it was night, and we're like, oh my gosh, So the very next morning, we know nobody. And we get in the water, my brother and sister and I, with a couple of new neighbors we just met. And we're all in the water together. And again, my brother remembers this day like it was yesterday. He read it in the book, and he told me this year, he says, I remember that event. And that amazed me because I knew I didn't make it up. But at the same time, again, you just have so much trouble believing yourself. But we're in the water. We know nobody. And we start hearing my name yelled over this lake. Kelly. It's just echoing over this lake. It's called Wolf Lake, appropriate name, in Muskegon, Michigan. And as that name is echoing, we agree it can't be me. There must be another Kelly they're yelling to, right? And because they don't know me. This is how vast and connected the trafficking rings are. We're in Michigan. That's a long ways from South Dakota. It's a whole different world too. And shortly thereafter, two guys come jogging down the beach, stop right by us, turn and say, hello, Kelly. And then they kept going. I knew then and there. I literally got physically sick, and I went in the house. And I went and stood in the shower actually and just wept and bawled my eyes out. And my brother told me when he read my book, he goes, I remember that. He says, I've always remembered that. It's always bothered me. But see, there again, my family had no idea. They knew something was wrong. They couldn't put their finger on it because there was a rebellion that started coming out of me at about age 13. And what they wrote it off to, like so many parents do, is, oh, she's just hit that age. She's just a rebellious teen. And I'd be asking myself, why am I the black sheep? Why am I rebelling? What is wrong with me? Not understanding the dynamics of any of this, I'm hating on myself. They're troubled by me. They're trying to get me counseling. They don't know what to do, and then these guys come to my window that night and said, we're going to come to this window whenever we want. When we knock on it, you will open the window and you will come with us. Now, I have already been threatened enough that I know I'm going to obey. I've seen people that I know did not survive what was done to them in front of me. I've seen that kind of torture. I've seen people taken out. I know they're capable. So when they say you're going to do what we say, I do what they say. And I'm telling the people, this is really strange, but I got called to speak in Muskegon just a few years ago. Of all the places in the nation, these people called me. They found me on a speaker list. And it was down to me and some other gal. And I said, you probably don't know I was actually trafficked there. And they're like, what? You're our speaker. So I go to Muskegon and I share this story. There are law enforcement in the audience and survivors. And there's survivors from my generation, along with young ones who came up afterwards and said, this still happens at Wolf Lake. The names still echo in the summer, and everyone knows what it means. Law enforcement didn't know. We got to alert them that year.
Crazy.
This was just a few years ago, actually.
I got a shiver down my spine when you said
all this time. Yeah.
What it
you so here's what I imagine in my head. I imagine the South Dakota head of the ring calling Michigan because, oh, by the way, I never mentioned he was almost best friends, probably best friends with my parents, him and his wife. So he knows where we are all the time. He didn't even have to be in the government, but he was associated. Um, and so all he's doing is he makes a call down there and says, hey, so Kelly's coming to Muskegon. Get your guys on it. That's all it took. And then what they did is they took me up to a truck stop. And not a truck stop like a gas station. It was a pullover. And they would take me to truckers at night. This was my first, what they call turning out at age 17. And that's all part of that programming because they want to get you experience in all avenues so they can use you when and wherever they want. It changed me forever. You look at my face in that picture, you see the horror because that picture was taken that day. If we were to see the whole picture, you'd see my siblings and the two girls. But I cut it out.
Yeah. And it's like, so the photo we were going to talk about this that you fled, is that, what age were you in this one?
22.
Okay.
5 years later. So for 5 years after Michigan, we come back to South Dakota. And I'm on the Minnesota border now with that guy right across the border. When that guy hit town, let me tell you. So I'm kicked out of my home. So now they've got 24/7. I'm a senior in high school. They have 24/7 control over my life. They have me finish high school because you see, everything has to look normal.
Right.
I'm not the only one that has this part of the story. I had to work a day job for them to look like I was living a normal life. I worked at our university. The university president was 100% involved. In fact, he was I forgot which president he was under. He worked for a president as a ambassador.
So,
and happened to move there the year that I was, you don't know what is coincidental and what isn't, but I had to work for him, which was horrific because he was deeply involved and he was also a pedophile, I would say. He was just a sick perv.
It's so.
I haven't told most of this story anywhere.
Well, and I appreciate you feeling comfortable to share it here. And it's like, I'm hearing you say this, Kelly, and it's wild to think about. Like, the world is evil, but you start to wonder, are you ever going to make it to the top of a ladder? Like, let's say you're some young kid that, you have aspiring dreams of being president or running this giant corporation. Does anybody get there without doing this?
I can't see how, and that's what saddens me.
Right.
I mean, I've got kids and grandkids with dreams. I had dreams. Sometimes I feel like when I'm sharing that it's so scattered, I don't even know if it's making sense because I'm just sharing off the cuff so much tonight. I'm thinking, gosh, it's probably all over the board, and I don't even know if you can follow me.
No, we can follow you. We can absolutely follow you. And I think too, there's been a handful of questions that have come in. So are you okay with me throwing a couple of them up?
Yeah, let's do.
Okay.
It honestly, it's kind of hard to randomly talk. Sometimes you feel, as I'm sharing, I'm remembering. And so it's always a bit, I think people don't have any idea how difficult this truly is. Whenever you share, it doesn't matter how many times you share, something new is either felt or comes out of you that you have to go away with afterwards, and you have to take some time. Like, I made sure to really be careful that I have some time for the next couple of days because I know what it takes out of me. And people really don't realize it. I've actually had people have the nerve to say, "Oh, what a weird way to be famous," and it's like, whoa, are you sick? This is like the last thing you'd want to be famous for. I mean, who wants to even own this? The only reason I share is I want people to know how hidden it is, how sinister it is, how it can be happening to anybody. get to know the symptoms. And one of the biggest, extreme exhaustion for no reason. Be looking for that. Be looking for that.
I cannot believe that somebody would say that to you. Like, to me,
Oh,
that
more than once.
I'm not even, and I know I'm talking to you right now and you're somebody that's gone through that. I see stuff in comments even, or just, you overhear people talking and I'm like, are you guys even like real humans? Are you real humans? Because I don't think a real human with a soul would ever say something so stupid, so just arrogant. Like
Thank you.
I do this thing, Kelly, where I clown horn people. They deserve
I love
that.
it. I've seen you do that and I love it.
So they get a clown horn, the biggest clown horn that I could possibly give.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I saw our friend Terry Martin. She had brought up they actually
Oh,
now the wild part about this stat, and then I'll get into the questions.
mhm.
I don't know if people in the Hive know this, but they spend 3 times as much rescuing animals as they do humans.
I
it's
didn't know
crazy.
that. I believe
It's
it.
crazy.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
that makes
just
me sad.
okay. Miss Maggie has a question. Um, did anything ever end up happening to the guy who the handler across the border in Minnesota? Did anything ever end up happening to him, or anything
This
that
is
you
going
heard
to
of?
really frustrate everybody.
Okay.
It frustrates me. Um, so the guy that worked for Trump, um, I was sharing. I only knew the guy's street name. I didn't know his real name, and he took me all over the place. He took me to Europe. He's the guy that took me to Mexico all the time. Um, he's the guy that I'll just say this straight up. I've never said this publicly. He straight up took me to, personally took me to the Church of Satan in San Francisco to meet Anton LaVey and that rock band that I'm not naming because I'm trying to look at a lawsuit with them because they're still traveling. Um,
Oh my God.
yeah. Uh, when I was speaking I was speaking actually at an event in Arizona. This guy that worked for Trump the first time around happened to be there speaking as well. And we were talking about trafficking. And he actually worked for Melania on an anti-trafficking
What?
task force. Yeah. Was there something in the
No. Sorry, I'm just saying. Like,
oh
Sorry, hang on. Are you saying the guy whose street name you knew was there talking about trafficking, or no?
no.
Oh, that's why I just said that. I
This guy
misheard you.
happened to reveal who he was to me
Oh, I got you. I misunderstood that.
because he
Sorry.
heard my story. And when he heard me say Minnesota, he said, "Tell me his name." And I said, I don't know his name. I only know his street name. So I gave him the street name. And Deborah Lynn. And someone I know, and Terry, of course. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, Kelly, we need to meet." And since then we've become friends. And he shared with me who this person is, where they live. And he said, "We've known about him. He's the head of this whole ring in the United States, and we can't take him down." He said, and he was a part. This is the very man that gathered all the info on Epstein. He's the dude that turned in all the info to take Epstein down. He did all the back work, the paperwork, and all that. He said that was easy. He said we can't touch this guy.
Who was the speaker? Was it Kash Patel, or
No.
no?
This is
Oh.
way back. This is first presidency for
Oh,
Trump.
his first presidency. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when they first brought Epstein to whatever, I don't know what I want to call it, justice. I don't even know. I don't even know. Is he alive? Is he not? I don't know.
Yeah. I have a question about that in regards to
Yeah.
when they say they can't take him down, and I'm going to look for a question as I ask you this. I brought this up last night when I was saying you were going to be on the stream today, and that was, do you think that, like the quote, the good guys, if we were going to believe that, have this list and they're not releasing it, right? Do you think there's a possibility that they're actually giving them a taste of their own medicine by blackmailing them with the threat of a release of this stuff?
That would be cool.
Right? I mean,
That would be
otherwise, why
cool.
would they not?
I mean, I want to think there's some kind of justice somewhere. I never thought of that, actually. That's kind of a cool, deep thought there.
It could happen. I don't know, because I can't think of any other reason. Like, if we were to think they're not on the list too, these people, what would they not release it for? And the only thing I could think of is they're using it against them to get them to comply. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, I mean, I'm certain they're being. We know that. I guess I took it as protecting. I never thought of it as. So that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, we could think that, at least for the rest of the evening.
I'm going there.
Yeah,
I'm going there. Yeah. Soothing my thoughts.
Yeah. Somebody had asked. Actually, they have a funny username. Bag of Richards had asked. There's some creative ones in here, Kelly.
I know some of them.
Ones. Yeah. Were your siblings victims as well?
No. And I'm so grateful that I could go on about the things that my brother in particular, because my sister was younger, experienced, the things that he witnessed, that he could. So one time, now I'm not going to go on, it's too long of a story, but I'm just going to say that there are things that they did, things that they would leave evidence in my yard to freak out my family. But my family had no idea, so they didn't understand. And yet I was the victim. I talk about when they cut me up with a scalpel when I was 13. And and my mother, she cried so hard when she read that story because she remembers the event. I told her it was a bicycle accident. And but it was only that week my brother cut himself to the bone with a scalpel in our yard. Now, what the heck is it? We're in a tiny town in South Dakota. What is a scalpel doing in your yard? I never knew or didn't remember or blocked it out, but I didn't know he cut himself on a scalpel. I didn't even remember him cutting himself to the bone. And he told me that he had told the neighbor it was a scalpel and she wouldn't believe him. And so then he started to not believe himself. And then he reads in my book and I mentioned the scalpel and it's like it all come together for him. And then he told me that my dad and him used to pick up syringes and needles in our yard. Now, this is a time when that was unheard of. And we were in a really high-end neighborhood at that time. And they're picking these up out of our yard. That just wasn't even a thing. Wasn't even a thing.
That's crazy. So did your family just think that it's trash blowing by kind of thing, or?
I think my brother said that they thought there must be some really low life who had diabetes that would walk the alley or something. They couldn't. Nobody would comprehend. If anything, you'd think, that trash blew, except that where we lived, it just made no sense. It was this super clean neighborhood. I didn't even know they were finding these things. It's years later, my brother tells me, and like I said, in the last year, and I'm still kind of like processing that because what were they doing? I think it had to be subliminal programming. Like, don't forget, we can do this to you. We can do this to you. Which tells me I think I was being drugged as well at that time and didn't know it. I knew I was being drugged from 17 to 22, but I had no idea that it must have been happening back then.
And I saw this on a caption in the email, so I hope it's okay that I'm going to say this, but I believe you had said in one of your captions that you were actually high in this picture, the middle one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, that's okay to say. Okay. And it kind of cut off, didn't it? When you see that whole picture, you see a man in a suit walking away, which I think is really like a poignant message. We actually have used it recently in a couple of our brochures because they're not online yet, but we'll get them there because you do see a guy walking away in a suit and I'm standing there like laughing.
I mean,
Um,
it's just crazy, dude. It's so crazy. It's so weird. It's so like, it's hard to believe that it's real. And Awesome Town Matt has a
I
question.
know.
He said, Kelly, when did you tell your parents what happened to you?
So now I'm old, and you all know it now. And I, I was trying to, forever I was trying to hide my age when I was coming on podcasts. I was like, now I know how old I am. I was like, whatever now. But uh, I didn't tell them till right before my book came out in 2018.
And and
I
then
I told them, well, I first of all I didn't have a name for it prior to, like, I don't know, gosh, I don't think I heard the trafficking word until I was oh gosh, till probably 2016 maybe. And I know
wow,
some other states were using it prior to that, but I wasn't. I was doing um, for any kind of SA, any kind of trauma related to anything like that, any level. I was doing support groups since '96 when my own flashbacks were coming back. And I didn't know what to call what happened to me. So my parents knew I had abuse, but they only thought there was one incident. And I let them believe that. It's like they're getting older and older, and I knew that they would take, so many people, by the way, blame my parents. Um, but my parents were a mess. They were.
I
We
saw
didn't
a
we
couple
didn't have
people
a
asking
super
about
great
that.
home. Yeah, we didn't have a super great home life. Uh, Dad had been in a plane wreck. He got brain damage. Um, Prior to that, he was an alcoholic. Mom was a shipwreck, trying to just keep the house together because of how dad was. He was not a good
Wow.
dad. He became a good person when I got older. But by then, I was really sour. It took a long time for us to mend our relationship. And so, that made me a target too, because you're looking for male attention and affection. But I don't blame them in the way that there are people that really believe my parents were involved because of dad working for the government, because of, how could parents not know? Da, da. Believe me, most of the victims I work with, their parents were clueless.
This, like, this is a, sometimes my brain goes in these directions, and I know that it's not a good thought, but in my head I'm like, it's a natural cover for exactly what you're talking about. You're going to be moving around. Your father's, in the military. You said
Yep.
home life was rough. It's the perfect it's the perfect like storm for almost like a plausible deniability aspect of it,
Sure.
to where, yeah, and then you end up getting forced into the limelight, and where there's questions on you and your family for what happened to it.
Hmm.
I mean, that's
Hmm.
also rough. And Doc Terry,
Yep.
thank you so much for the super chat.
Dot Cherry. Mwah.
Great to see you, Kelly. Love you. Thank you, Birdie. Well, thank you, Doc Terry. You rock for that, for the super chat. And I just, somebody had also asked about your interview with Sean Atwood. I got that pulled up real quick, so
Oh, okay.
I'll plug that. So yeah, Kelly was on Sean Atwood 6 months ago. So it's used by late elites from age 6. It's the first one if you type in Sean Atwood, Kelly Patterson.
Oh,
Kelly.
really?
Yeah, it's the first one.
Star status. Oh, brother.
Well, that's good. I mean,
Okay.
hey, that means the algorithm's not shadow manning it. It
Well,
means that
we
it's
didn't use
getting it.
any words on there. I think I slipped once or twice. So let's
Wow.
hope not, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't want nothing to happen.
and you've been extremely gracious with your time. We're coming up on an hour and a half. I just want to say thank you again. And I think, like, I can't even actually put it into words, probably, like, what I would want to say to you, and just how incredible it is that you get up here and you share this, and you were willing to come into the Hive. And I mean, you're on people's shows like Sean Atwood, and here you are sitting talking to me, and I really appreciate it. I know the Hive appreciates it, and it's just, you're an incredible woman, and I hope that God blesses you for the rest of days, because I
Oh, thank you.
man, I can't believe that I'm sitting here looking at somebody who had to go through that. And I mean that in like the most like empathetic way, Kelly, because
I
it's
feel
just
it. I
crazy.
feel it. I feel it from you. And we can thank Doc Terry for connecting us, right? Or not
Yeah,
Doc Terry, but Terry Martin.
Terry Martin.
Terry Martin. And
So
thank you. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for giving me somewhere to share things I have never shared publicly at all. None of the Mexico stuff ever. Um, we're working on a film in Hollywood. I didn't go looking for this. I never go looking, by the way. I just never have. I never have knocked on a door. But a pretty well known, several well known people in Hollywood read my book and connected me with some of the most well known but good, godly people in Hollywood, hiding in
yeah,
Hollywood.
I was
And
gonna say that's
yeah, yeah,
man.
they're amazing. And an attorney has volunteering his time. He's called the attorney to the stars, and he is the most godly guy. He's just amazing. He protects me. He would lay his life down for me. I know he would. And we've been working on this for about 4 years. So if you're praying, people, pray for that, because I just want. I'm not going to be in it, obviously. Run, Kelly. Oh no, that's we're not doing that anymore.
That's funny.
Um,
That's funny.
Someone much younger is going to have to be me. But I want people to realize it's so much more common. I want to make it recognizable to our country that, and it is hard to, we didn't really get into that. Like, how can you tell? But it's really spelled out in my book. You can get it, I think, free half the time for if you get the Kindle version.
Yeah, I think it
And
is.
so I'm not trying to sell anything. You won't believe, that's the other thing I got accused of on Sean Atwood. There were people that say, "Oh, you're just trying to make money." Dudes, I don't get paid a dime for coming on podcasts, right? Would you verify that?
Yeah, no,
Right?
there's
No,
nothing. There's nothing.
no. And the little bit you get from books is not worth making crap up. I don't know who would do that. I guess there's psychos out there.
Well, there's been stories of people, like, just in general, they make stuff up about anything.
That is
It's
true.
weird. It's
That is so crazy to me. And you have to be insane. I don't know. Because this is not the way to get attention. I mean, if it would be anything, it'd have to be for my beauty.
hey, it could work. It could work. And I think too, you would have to be the sorriest of souls to lie about
Right?
something this traumatic.
Oh my gosh. And then to keep your story straight.
Right.
From show to show. I just want to tell people who think that, just go watch me on every interview and then sit down and take notes. And if you find anything that's I didn't say before, it's because I didn't think of it or it didn't come up. But you aren't going to find me, misstating information unless unless
Maybe like
old
a
age,
date or
unless old
something.
age kicked in for a moment.
Yeah. Well, and so your website is I just had it pulled up, but you have your book, From Traffic to Treasure. The website that people can go to that would be for like resources was called or
Traffic to Treasure is the book, but there is a ton of resources in it. There's a ton of like what to look for. We really go into detail in there. But also when you hear my story, now Sean Atwood is good at that, but the book gives you a much fuller picture of how it really happens. It's hard to. I had so many questions after his show that I realized there's never time to tell it all, except in a book. And then after my book, I was like, I should write 3 more to fill in the blanks of the questions that came from that. You just can't. You can't fill a lifetime into a show.
Well, and so to your point too, I'm not sure how like other people that have interviewed you felt. How I felt is I don't know where to even start to ask you questions. Like, we can do the classic progression of from your childhood to, you know, adulthood. You've been asked that a billion times now. So, not that I'm, you know, would ever be prying for a story that we haven't heard before or things like that, because that's not the intention at all. But it's rather just having people hear and listen to a real person, right? Like a real person. This is a true live. I mean, I'm having audio issues. My internet's cutting out, all that stuff. And, you know, we're just going off the cuff. And the fact that, that, you know, you're able to do that and sit there and just go off the cuff, and it doesn't have to be scripted. You don't have to tell people, these are the questions you can ask me. And I can attest to that, Hives. Everybody in the chat, Kelly said, you can ask me anything. And I'll just, if I want to talk about it, I will. And that's kind of where the legal aspects of stuff come in, because maybe even though that person might be dead now, their family could be alive, right? And stuff like that. So, yeah, to anybody that says like, oh, well, she's not naming names. Well, I don't want to get sued into oblivion either for having a name said on this, right? So I get it. I get it. And Kelly, with that being said, thank you so much for your time. I would love to have you back sometime down the road and catch up and chat and see how the progress is going.
Yeah. Anytime you hit a topic related that you think I can speak to, I'd be so happy to. I've watched enough of yours in the reruns and wished I was interacting with your Hive, and you know, you've got a really great batch of people here.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I can ever help with something.
Yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely hit you up. And I know tonight, I wasn't putting as many comments up on the screen chat. It's just, I really wanted to be kind of, you know, fully dialed in. I didn't have a bunch of slides to be working with. And so with that being said, I hope that everybody has a great night. I will be back on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central. Kelly, I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
And with that, I will see you guys later. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, thank you.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.